Okay, so hi, welcome. This is my first screencast. This is inspired by Nick Ferrier, so thanks very much for your support. I'm just going to be talking about my project that I've been working on, just as an experiment, really to get to grips with PHP a bit more and a bit more about the language. I'll start off by explaining that my inspiration came quite heavily from a book I'm reading at the moment called Geek Sublime by Vikram Chandra. It's called Writing Fiction, Coding Software, and it's a really interesting book that explains the sort of computing in its raw form at the beginning, and sort of parallels between writing software and also writing literature, and the sort of art forms between that. And the first few chapters cover how a computer actually works, which I found really inspiring. Vikram talks about how you can basically make a basic computer using Lego Technic blocks, and sort of building up basic input-output operations with various controls like on rack and pinion, that sort of thing, like pushing two bars out to get a 1 or a 0, basically an or an and sort of operator. So that's become my inspiration really for for the start of this video. So basically I had an idea to see if I could represent characters like typeface using 1s and 0s. And the first thing I thought of, in its most basic form, would be like an LED array with typography, where you have, say, you're at the train station, you see the word train scroll on a display. It's just a series of LEDs turning on and off. So as I started to think about how that might work, I thought in its most basic form you could make your own array of squares, your own grid basically of squares, and have black for on and white for off, and basically populate your own character inside that grid of squares. So yeah, I started to explore the idea a bit more, and the first thing I thought of was I'll create my own sort of alphabet of characters, my own typography, based on a limited grid size of my choosing. I found out that most font systems use a minimum of a minimum of 5 columns to display a character, because some characters are symmetrical, so you have to have the 5 to make it equal for both sides, for example the letter M. And then again 5 was the minimum you could get away with, but I decided to make it interesting, to see how much I could squeeze out of a small grid by using 4 by 5, so 4 columns by 5 height. I'll demonstrate that. I started to actually started to make my character map using Excel. I'm using Numbers on Mac, and I'll load up the template file I have here. So this is a I'll just make it a bit smaller. Okay, this is a grid of 4 columns by 5, and to represent the character A, I decided to make each cell that I wanted to form part of the character black. So if I fill these 2 cells in black, and then these 4 cells going vertically in black, as you can see it's starting to represent the letter A. So there we go, I've got my character of A, which I'm pretty happy with. And then I went through A to Z, had some limitations on M, for example, how I might creatively get around the problem, and I tried a few different combinations with that. I've got a folder here which I built all of the letters, if I load it in grid mode. So you see A, these are just screenshots that I took for my own reference. And as you can see here, M, the letter, is kind of strange. It doesn't really look like an M, but it's creatively different, and I got away with it actually representing an M. Same problem with W, which is just the opposite, but I think it adds some unique characters, and unique style, I mean. And then the letter S here, I was originally going to make it blocks all the way along the top, all the way down, like the number 5, but I wanted to potentially give it some character by imagining that these two blocks diagonally opposite each other would represent a curve. So it's more, as you can see there with the U, it's more like these. You can see that on every character that has a curve, just has diagonally adjacent blocks. So this is my character map. So that forms my idea, and my second part of my idea was how to potentially turn each one of these blocks, these square blocks, into divs that could be displayed on a HTML page. And my language of choice was PHP, purely because I know the language and it's something that I could just quickly sort of knock up and have a working demo, within a couple of hours. So I started to think about how I might be able to interpret each of these squares and then ultimately display them as divs on the screen. So my first thought was that I could easily represent each one of these. I call them cells because they're blocks, but blocks is a bit of an arbitrary name. It doesn't really have much semantic value outside of the character system, so I call them cells. And so a cell has either a value of 1, which is represented by black, and 0 as white. And that's where I got the idea to make a binary alphabet using 1s and 0s, obviously. And so what I thought I could do is store each character as an array of 0s and 1s. Basically, this would be represented, this top row here would be represented as 0, 1, 1, 0, and then 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, you get the idea. So if I load up my editor, I'm using Atom at the moment. This is something I made earlier. It's basically everything you saw in that in that folder of images. Each character is a single array dictionary of the character followed by its string binary representation. I could have gone with multi-arrays in this case, but it's like multi-level array, but it was going to be a bit tricky just to get my ideas out there. So yeah, I've created this basic array, and so what I could do is firstly I was checking if I would say echo. Hold on a sec. I'm just gonna comment that out. So I'll demonstrate on line 44 by doing something like echo alphabet, oops, and the character of X. So that should return onto the screen. Oops, I have not commented that out. So there we go. As you can see, I'm finding the dictionary value of X, which is giving me this 1001, which is the same as what you see on the screen. So that was cool. I knew that was working, which I didn't have any doubt it would. So the second thing, I know that each letter gives me a full string, but ideally I want that string to be an array in itself. So the first thing I do is I run a for each statement. I'll uncomment them as I go, so I can sort of explain how I did it. For each array item in the alphabet, I'm going to call this first item char, and then the value, basically key to value, the value being the char data. So I've got two sort of variables here that I can use as a key and value. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to split the value I want to split the string value. I'll rephrase this. I need to split the string stored in char data by the commas, as you can see here, so I can turn them into array. And the way I do that is with preg split, or preg split, which is that's for regex, to turn, which basically what that does is it turns the string into an array called char rows. And as you can see there, I'm using regex to take comma. If I didn't have these two brackets, it would give me an error, because I'm not fully understand that, but got those two brackets there. I think that's part of the regex construct. And then I'm splitting that array, that string there. Cool. So now I've got the rows separated. I can split them again using string split and store them into another array called cell. So basically I would split each one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then split it even more down to its cell value, which would be 0 and 1, back to this diagram here, 0, 1, 1, 0. So what I'll do is, just to demonstrate my new row array, sorry, I'll echo out on the screen the value stored in that array. And I need to use print r char arrays, and I'll just echo npre again just to keep it neat. So if I load the screen up now, as you can see, this is quite a long list. These are all my characters. So the first character row, as I call it, is 0110 followed by 1011. Followed by 1001, which is exactly here. This first row is this bunch of array items. So basically, I've split each row into sub rows, if that makes sense. So as you can, this is A, this is B, C, D, all the way down to Z. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Cool. So basically, what I want to do now is I want to get each value in this array and split it even further, so I can just get the individual items. So I run another loop, and I'll delete that, and I'll explain this character. Oh, actually, I'll just comment it out. So here's my new loop, which takes each row, each array item, and gives it the value, gives the key character row. It's kind of hard to explain the syntax, but what I could do is I could echo char row. So what I'm doing is I'm taking each row, which is each one of these in the new array, and I am going, for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to print out each row. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So for each item in the row here, I'm going to split it again to the cell. No, let me rephrase. For each row, I'm going to just print the entire row without any commas, nothing. So this is the entire A to Z with nothing. But what I could do to demonstrate that it is separated is I can echo a line break. And there you go. You can see each row now just printed out on the screen.